629 yards total offense. Any questions? No, they're going to go for the coach. They got him after all.
He doesn't mind, not now.
One of the most dominating stretches in college football history. Nebraska, there is no doubt, they are the nation's national champion, by far the best in college football.
Your screen. Intercepted by Colorado. Dion Figures. And Figures runs out the clock. And the Figures may be #1 for Colorado.
Figures. And that closes the ball game. Colorado 10, Notre Dame 9. Congratulations to the Colorado Buffaloes. Congratulations.
Coach Coker, on behalf of all of us at Sears and the American Football Coaches Association, it's my pleasure to present the Sears National Championship Football Trophy to you, your team, and to Hurricane fans everywhere. Congratulations on a perfect season, an outstanding performance here tonight, and all the best in winning your very first Sears trophy. Congratulations. Please pick up the ball. All the best.
College football is built on tradition, legendary programs, historic rivalries, and unforgettable moments. But not every program has been able to keep up with the changing landscape of the sport. Once great teams like Nebraska, Colorado, and Miami dominated college football for years, but today their stories couldn't be more different. Nebraska has been stuck in the cellar for over a decade, searching for a way out. Colorado is showing signs of life under Deion Sanders, but their rise has just begun. And Miami, they're knocking on the door of dominance, but can they kick it down and reclaim their spot at the top? In this video, we're diving into the rise, fall, and potential comeback of these three programs. We'll break down how each team got to where they are today and what it'll take to get back to the top of college football. Before we go any further, if you love college football and want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. At 10,000 subscribers, we will be doing a massive giveaway, so make sure to subscribe to help us get to that point. Also, make sure to like the video to help other college football fans see the channel. Let's start with Nebraska, a program that once dominated the sport, but now finds itself struggling to stay relevant. For decades, Nebraska was the model of consistency. Under Bob Devaney, they won 2 national championships in 1970 and 71, but it was Tom Osborne who cemented Nebraska's dynasty. From 1973 to 1997, Osborne led the Huskers to 3 national championships in 94, 95, and 97, and finished in the top 10 an astonishing 17 times. The 1995 team in particular is often regarded as one of the greatest teams in college football history. They went 13-0, outscored opponents by an average of 38 points per game, and dominated Florida 62-24 in the national championship. Nebraska's offense, built around the triple option, overwhelmed defenses, and their black shirts defense was just as intimidating. But after Osborne retired in 1997, the cracks started to show. His successor, Frank Solich, actually kept things going pretty well, winning a conference title in 1999 and making it to the national championship game in 2001, but after a 9-3 season in 2003, Nebraska fired Solich, a move that many fans and analysts still criticize today. That decision marked the start of Nebraska's decline. Bill Callahan replaced Solich and tried to modernize the offense, abandoning the traditional power running game, and that didn't work. Nebraska missed a bowl game for the first time in 35 years in 2004. Since then, the program has been stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. They've had 6 different head coaches in the past 20 years, each promising to restore Nebraska to greatness but falling short. Their move to the Big Ten in 2011 was supposed to be a fresh start, but instead it exposed just how far they'd fallen behind. The biggest issue? Recruiting. Nebraska thrived in the 90s by developing talent from the Midwest and dominating the trenches. But in today's game, recruiting is more national than ever, and Nebraska lacks the geographic talent pool to keep up with schools in Texas, Florida, and California. Modern offenses built around speed and spacing have also left Nebraska's old school identity behind. So where does Nebraska go from here? Enter Matt Rule, a coach with a proven track record of rebuilding programs. At Temple, he took a 2-win team and turned them into a 10-win team in just 3 years. At Baylor, he inherited a program in shambles and led them to an 11-win season and a Sugar Bowl appearance. The pieces are there. Nebraska has invested heavily in facilities, and NIL opportunities could help close the recruiting gap. But the question remains, can Nebraska adapt to modern college football, or are their glory days just a thing of the past? Now, let's move on to Colorado, a program that's generating a ton of hype, but still has a long way to go before it can be considered back. Colorado wasn't always a struggling program. In fact, they were one of the best programs in the country in the late 1980s and early 90s under Bill McCartney. They won their first and only national championship in 1990, sharing the title with Georgia Tech after going 10-1-1. The Buffs had a reputation for tough, physical football, and they were a recruiting force, regularly pulling in top talent from California and Texas. From 1989 to 1996, they finished in the top 15 7 times, including 4 seasons in the top 10. They also produced NFL stars like Cordell Stewart, Rashawn Salaam, who won the Heisman Trophy in '94, and Michael Westbrook. But after McCartney retired in 1994, things began to unravel. Colorado struggled to maintain consistency, and by the early 2000s, they were no longer a national contender. The 2010s were especially rough. They moved to the Pac-12 in 2011, hoping to revive the program with a fresh start, but it backfired. They only had 2 winning seasons in their first 12 years in the conference and became an afterthought in the college football landscape. So what changed? The answer, Deion Sanders. When Colorado hired Sanders as head coach in 2023, it immediately made headlines. Sanders brought energy, national attention, and, most importantly, players. Thanks to the transfer portal, Colorado essentially rebuilt its entire roster in one offseason, bringing in over 50 transfers, including Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, at quarterback, and Travis Hunter, the nation's top 2-way player. There's no denying that Sanders has already made Colorado relevant again. Their games drew record TV ratings, their recruiting has drastically improved, and the transfer portal has given them a way to keep upgrading their roster quickly. In just his second season, Sanders transformed the Buffs into a 9-3 team, earning them a spot in the Alamo Bowl against BYU. The turnaround was fueled by an infusion of talent through the transfer portal led by Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, 2 players who became household names. Hunter was nothing short of spectacular. Winning the Heisman Trophy as a 2-way player who dominated on both sides of the ball, he finished the season with 92 receptions, 1,152 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns on offense, while also recording 4 interceptions and 11 pass breakups on defense. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders cemented himself as one of the nation's best quarterbacks, throwing for 3,926 yards and 35 touchdowns with just 8 interceptions. Both players are projected to be top 3 picks in the upcoming NFL draft, capping off their incredible seasons. But while 2024 was a breakthrough year for Colorado, it also highlighted some areas that still need improvement. The Buffs struggled at times in the trenches, giving up pressure on offense and failing to consistently stop the run on defense. With Hunter and Sanders heading to the NFL, Deion faces his biggest challenge yet, sustaining success without his 2 biggest stars. The transfer portal will once again be key, but this time, Colorado needs to focus on building depth in the trenches and adding talent that fits his schemes long term. The Buffs also need to prove they can keep pace in the Big 12, where the competition won't be any easier next season. A strong recruiting pipeline and strategic portal additions will be critical to avoiding a step backward. Deion Sanders has already shown he can bring energy and talent to Colorado. Now, the question is whether he can build a program that wins year after year, or if Colorado's rise will fade as quickly as it began. Finally, let's talk about Miami, a program that's starting to reestablish itself as a national contender after years of underperformance. Miami's history is one of dominance and swagger. From the early 1980s to the early 2000s, the Hurricanes were one of the most feared teams in college football. They won 5 national championships in 1983, 87, 89, 91, and 2001, and produced some of the game's greatest players, including Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Michael Irvin, and Sean Taylor. The 2001 team is still regarded by many as the most talented college football team ever, sending 17 players to the first round of the NFL draft over the next 3 years. But after winning the 2001 title, Miami's dominance began to fade. Poor coaching hires, struggles in recruiting, and player development issues caused the program to fall behind in an increasingly competitive college football landscape. By the mid-2010s, Miami had become a middle-of-the-pack team in the ACC, far removed from their championship days. That started to change with the hiring of Mario Cristobal in 2022. Cristobal, a Miami alum, was brought in to rebuild the program from the ground up, and 2024 marked a major step forward. The Hurricanes went 10-2 in the regular season, earning a trip to the Pop-Tarts Bowl against Iowa State. They looked like a completely different team, more physical in the trenches, faster on the outside, and more disciplined overall. Offensively, Miami was led by transfer quarterback Cam Ward, who came over from Washington State and immediately transformed the offense. Ward finished 4th in the Heisman Trophy voting, throwing for 4,313 yards and 39 touchdowns, while adding 4 touchdowns on the ground. Despite the impressive season, Miami fell short in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, losing to Iowa State. The loss highlighted a few areas that still need improvement, especially in terms of depth and consistency under pressure. So what does Miami need to do to take the next step? First, they need to replace Cam Ward. Losing a Heisman finalist is never easy, and finding the right quarterback in the transfer portal or developing their current roster will be crucial. Second, they need to keep stacking talent. Cristobal's recruiting has already brought in multiple top 10 classes, and that trend has to continue to compete with programs like Florida State and Clemson in the ACC. Finally, they need to prove it on the big stage. Winning 10 games was a huge step, but Miami still needs to show that they can close out big games and perform under the spotlight. The Hurricanes aren't fully back yet, but after a 10-2 season, they're closer than they've been in decades. The only question left is whether Miami can build on the success, or if the ghost of the past will keep haunting them. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these teams do you think has the greatest chance at making a comeback as a perennial contender? Let me know. And let me know if there's a team you think we should highlight. Thanks again for watching the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.